Hello, 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 everyone out there, and welcome to another episode of Echo Live. My name is Anna, coming to you from the Michigan Science Center's Echo Distance Learning Program. We have a super special program to get started with today. We are going to be joined by a few special guests. Everyone is here to help us celebrate Black History Month by talking about some famous scientists and inventors throughout STEM history and talking about some of the work that's being done in Black history right now as we speak. So our first special guest of the day is an amazing honor to be hosted here on our Echo Live program. We are going to be joined by Congresswoman Haley Stevens, who'd like to kick us off by saying a few words to all of you tuning in at home or at school. Hi, thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, thank you so much, Anna, and thank you to the Science Center for hosting today's program and for all the exciting work that you are doing with Echo Live. I could not be more jazzed and more enthusiastic to be here for today's program and helping to kick off what we're talking about, which is it is Black History Month, and it is the role of all people to be involved in science and emphasis on our young girls. I have helped to create the Women in STEM Caucus and also a role for minorities to be involved. And a lot of that starts with celebrating and recognizing and leaning into Black History Month. So for all of you who are participating in today's session, I want to say, as your Congresswoman, Haley Stevens, who sits on the House Science Committee with our fabulous chair, Eddie Bernice Johnson, who is one of the original pioneers, one of our original African-American pioneers in the sciences in Congress. She was originally a nurse. I want to thank you all for being a part of today and taking that first step for how you can engage in the sciences. So our history is really important, and I want to shed light on a few really important people who have touched my life, who have inspired me, and who should inspire all of you. First, we've got Jerry Lawson, who was a scientist out in California in the 1970s. He helped to develop the original console that went on to create things like Atari. I don't even know if some of you know what Atari is, but it was sort of the grandfather to Nintendo and gaming systems. He was an African-American computer scientist and developer. So we are so proud of Jerry Lawson. And of course, we know our incredible historical figures, the hidden figures who helped lead the way to putting people on the moon. Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Johnson, Mary Jackson, our other Dr. Mae Jemison from NASA, who's been such an incredible leader. And I'll tell you all, I'm in the United States Congress, and this is something I asked my colleagues, right? Because 2 years ago, we celebrated the 50-year anniversary from when we landed on the moon. And so the question becomes, well, what's the next 50-year moonshot? And so what I want all of you to do is look around at yourselves and what you're doing with your education and the questions you're answering and how you could be responsible or be a part of, right? It doesn't all have to rest on your shoulders, but you can be a part of a scientific discovery and advancement. And that's what we're here also to talk about today, that science is inclusive. It is something for girls and for boys. We love our STEManista program. I am so excited to hear about Alyssa Space and the amazing things she's doing as a chemist in Detroit. And that's what I'm advocating for in Congress. This is why I am your representative in Congress. So proud to partner with Echo Live and everything that we do with the Michigan Science Center. So thank you so much for having me. We're going to continue to make advancements, make space, make room, and tell everyone that you can do whatever you want to put your mind to, and science is a really cool part of it. And that is a part of achieving your dreams and everything that we can accomplish right here in the place that we call home in Michigan.
Well, thank you again so much, Congresswoman Stevens. That is so empowering. And like you said, we are celebrating Black History all month at MiSci. When we reopen this Thursday after our shutdown and training period, we have hands-on activities, we have things for kids to try and role models for you to meet here in the building and online. But it has been so great to have you here on the program. If you have any questions for Congresswoman Stevens, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I'm sure that we can maybe try to get you some answers as we move through our program here.
That would be great, Anna, because I think a big part of what we're also shining a light on with Black history and the importance of Black history, the importance of being inclusive, is that in our history, we have told communities of people, be it women or African Americans, that you can't do something because you are a person of color. You can't do something because you're a woman. And we chipped away at that. We broke boundaries. And this is why we celebrate Black history. This is why we're holding today's event, in part to say, even when there was impediments, which is a roadblock, even when those roadblocks were put in people's way, they overcame those barriers. And today the floodgates are totally open. There is something for everyone. And we want to get excited about what we're going to be doing with the Michigan Science Center and with Echo Live. So thanks again. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. Well, we are going to kick off into the other part of our program here, where we're going to celebrate some more of those famous and maybe not so famous Black scientists and inventors who really did pave the way for people like you who are tuning into the program and are picturing your future in STEM. So I'm sure you listened to Congresswoman Stevens name a couple amazing figures in STEM history. If you have a favorite Black scientist or inventor, or an invention that you know is thanks to a Black scientist or inventor, throw it in the chat. Let us know. I'd love to see what you all think and who is your favorite. But I've compiled a list of some of my favorite contributions to science, which we wouldn't have if it wasn't for these amazing innovators that we are going to talk about together. The first person I want to talk about is this guy right here, Lewis Howard Latimer. Now, Lewis Howard Latimer is an extremely important Black inventor. So I'm going to work my way through history here, getting more and more recent as we go. But Lewis Howard Latimer is the reason that you have lights in your home right now. We can thank Lewis Howard Latimer for the carbon filament, which you might know is a part of what we today call something an incandescent light bulb. So I have a pretty large incandescent light bulb here, and all of these incandescent bulbs, right, work because there is a tiny, very thin, but very, very fragile piece of metal stretched across two electrodes. When we send electricity through that filament starts to glow. And we can thank Lewis Howard Latimer for this because until he came around and invented a change to the process by which scientists made light bulb filaments, all of these filaments were breaking during the process where they were building them. So Lewis Howard Latimer actually developed a change to the system. He created a way to stabilize or strengthen those filaments so that they didn't break while they were being made, and we could put them into incandescent bulbs. To show you just how difficult that was, I'm actually going to construct an incandescent bulb using all materials that you probably already have at home. So for this, you only need a few things. I have a big stack of batteries here. So I've got 6 D batteries, but you can use any batteries. You might just need more of them if your batteries are a little bit smaller. And then what I have to act as my filament here is some mechanical pencil lead. Carbon filaments are made of carbon, and graphite that we use in pencils is also made of carbon. So this is that same material that Lewis Howard Latimer worked with. But if you've ever used a mechanical pencil before, you know that this pencil lead is extremely, extremely fragile. And I have one small piece just stretched across 2 alligator clips here, which are going to act like my electrodes in this light bulb. You can only see it even if I stand behind it because that filament is so, so thin. Now I'm going to hook up the power to my DIY light bulb here just by attaching the 2 ends of my electrodes to our power source, our battery, and let's see just how easy it is to design your own light bulb at home. Here we go, we're powering up our bulb in 3, 2, 1. See a small amount of smoke. You can see our filament starting to glow. Extremely bright, but very soon our filament is going to burn out. Since this filament hasn't gone through that process that Lewis Howard Latimer developed to strengthen these filaments, it's very soon going to break in half, and then we'll no longer have the flow of electricity across our filament, and our light is going to go out. There it goes. So Lewis Howard Latimer is the reason that we used incandescent bulbs for so long. Even though they're becoming less and less common as we develop things like fluorescent bulbs or LEDs, this is what powered up homes and cities for over 100 years. Now, we also have many other scientists to thank. We mentioned a little bit about some of the scientists and inventors who were involved in space and space exploration. Haley Stevens, you mentioned hidden figures, and that is one of my favorite things to talk about during Black History Month, because if you've seen the movie, it is a fantastic story of the NASA mathematicians who helped to get the first astronauts to the moon. People like Neil Armstrong could have never landed on the moon if it wasn't for these amazing mathematicians. Christine Darden, who's pictured here on this slide, she's actually one of the hidden figures, even though she's not in the movies, but she is my favorite of the NASA hidden figures. She is featured in the book, if you've ever read the book. But she went on, after being a mathematician, or what they called human computers at the time, she went on to be an aeronautic engineer, meaning that she worked on designing planes and spacecraft to make them able to fly most efficiently. So you can see her holding up a model of something she was working on at NASA. And Christine Darden was incredibly important for coming up with a lot of the solutions to rocket and spaceship design that we still use today. So even if you've launched something like this, you can thank Christine Darden, one of those NASA hidden figures, for the reason that rockets like this, which is just a foam rocket, the stomp rocket we like to call them, to take us places like the moon, but even farther onto places like Jupiter and even further out into deep space. Let's see, who do we have up next on our list here? Mae Jemison is a crowd favorite. I know Congresswoman Stevens mentioned Dr. Mae Jemison. Many people know that Mae Jemison was the first female Black astronaut, still is one of the very few Black astronauts in the world, and even smaller group of female Black astronauts. What a lot of people don't know, though, is that Mae Jemison, she wasn't just an astronaut, as if that wasn't a big enough accomplishment, as if that wasn't the coolest job in the whole world. But prior to becoming an astronaut, Mae Jemison is a doctor, a medical doctor, and she's also an engineer. So she was extremely well-rounded, which is usually what NASA looks for in astronauts, people who can head up to space, handle themselves really well, are very, very confident, and have a lot of skills. So take it from Mae Jemison, don't just pick one passion. She had many, many passions in life. And one of the best things about Mae Jemison is that she is still incredibly active in the STEM community. Just last week, we shared a link on the MiSci Facebook page to a live interview with Dr. Jemison that took place with PBS Detroit. So if you'd like to hear about how Dr. Jemison got started in STEM and how her process to becoming an astronaut and what she's been doing since her time flying to space, definitely check that out. She still does programs like that quite often, and she is an incredibly powerful speaker who shares the mission that we all do here at the Michigan Science Center of empowering young people to go on, pursue their dreams, and know that the sky is not the limit, because Dr. Jemison went even further than that. My next figure that I'd like to highlight is one of my all-time favorites, and it's because Lonnie Johnson, this guy right here, invented one of my very favorite things of all time. So Lonnie Johnson, yes, he was a NASA engineer. He also worked for the Jet Propulsion Laboratories, or JPL, who you might know works very closely with NASA. But he took his passions and all of his smarts in engineering, and he designed two of the world's most successful toys. You can see in his hand there, he has what we now know as the Super Soaker water gun. So Lonnie Johnson worked with air pressure, and he also worked a lot with engineering design, thinking about how air pressure can be used in rockets and other uses. As he was working on these, he actually found a way to design the Super Soaker using that same technology. So even if you have a passion, like Lonnie Johnson had a passion or an expertise in science, he used it to invent something new, which I really love. He's also responsible for the Nerf gun. So if you've used a Super Soaker or a Nerf gun, you can thank Lonnie Johnson, one of my most favorite Black scientists of all time. And Lonnie Johnson is still alive as well. So check him out if you're interested in learning a little bit more. But my favorite demonstration to celebrate Lonnie Johnson is building a toy of my own. You might remember this device from a past episode of Echo Live. This is my confetti cannon. You could really power this, or you could put anything you'd like inside the confetti cannon. But since we don't want to splash all of my distance learning equipment, and since I'm sure no one wants to get wet out in the audience, who knows, I've instead filled it with confetti. But the process by which it works is exactly the same. It's hooked up to a simple foot pump that you can use to pump up something like a bicycle tire. And if I go ahead and pump air down into our confetti cannon, I am building pressure because there's nowhere right now, or no way right now, for the air to escape, to get out of the confetti cannon. It doesn't take much, but just the amount of air that I've been able to pump in using my hands has built an incredible amount of pressure that's just waiting to be released, because as we fill this cannon with more and more and more air, it wants to get out and it will exit as soon as we let it. So we'll give it maybe 3 more pumps here. 1, 2, 3. Aim our confetti cannon very carefully, and let's get ready to launch in 3, 2, 1. Woo! Might have shot so fast you couldn't even see it on camera. So science is incredibly fun. And if you can learn anything from Lonnie Johnson, it's that science is fun, it should be fun, and you can use it like we use it here on Echo Live to make other people's lives more fun too. If you're looking for a way to build one of these, reach out to us. We'd love to show you how you can build a confetti cannon of your own as well. Now we have one very final figure to talk about, who is shaping Black history as we speak. Congresswoman Stevens mentioned this super, super important person to MiSci. We are going to be joined next by our last special guest of the day. Her name is Alyssa Space, and she is a chemist based right here in Michigan, specifically in the city of Detroit. She's an entrepreneur, just like Lonnie Johnson was, has her own business producing cosmetics at a place called ForHerCosmetics. If you are interested in learning more, check out their Instagram, which I've put the handle down here on the bottom of our program. But as we said, Alyssa Space is our most important guest of the day because she is doing the work. She's going to join us in just a moment to talk about what she's doing here in the city, how she got into STEM. And so I will turn it over to you. Hi, Alyssa. Thank you so much for joining us for Echo Live.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. We are so excited to have you. This has been a super fun episode so far, but we've been celebrating all sorts of Black scientists and inventors, and what better person to join us? You are a Black scientist, and you are just down the road from us. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. As mentioned before, my name is Alyssa Space, and I am the owner of ForHerCosmetics, which is a STEM-based, all-natural, vegan, and cruelty-free cosmetic line located right here in the city of Detroit. I'm actually here in my lab, MySpace Laboratories, where I mass produce and formulate all of the products that I actually sell through my business. And I also teach students how to create these products through our STEM enrichment program.
Well, that is awesome. And I think that's exactly the kind of stuff that our audience is interested in. So if I could ask you a question about Black History Month, if you had to choose, who do you celebrate during Black History Month and why?
Okay, so I know we've already mentioned Mae Jemison. I love her. She was the first Black woman to space, and then on top of that, my last name is Space, so it works together. But honestly, I celebrate the Dr. Gladys West, the Madam C.J. Walkers, women who paved the way for us today in order to be business owners and scientists as well. So.
Well, that is awesome. Now, I know that you said there is a pretty unique opportunity coming up for if students are interested in some of the work that you do, if they're interested in chemistry or interested in cosmetics, there's a pretty unique opportunity coming up. Can you tell us about what that is?
Yes, so MySpace Laboratories actually has chemistry and cosmetics programs that we're going to be offering for free to the public on a virtual platform where they actually can come in and learn how to make the products that we sell here. From lipsticks to lip glosses, body shimmers, you name it, we pretty much have the science for it for you to learn.
Well, that is awesome. So if we could just take it back to the science of or to the theme of our episode here, right? Can you tell us why is it important that we do this work, to do what you do and do what we do at the Science Center? Can you talk about what did this have an influence on you growing up, or how do you feel about it?
I think it's super important to show students that there are possibilities, there are routes that you can take in STEM outside of the traditional just being a doctor, which is nothing wrong with that, but there are other ways that you can go. Like me, for instance, I'm a cosmetic chemist, is what I like to call myself, or a beauty chemist. And I think that students need to learn that science can actually be fun and creative at the same time.
That's a very good point. It's using it for something outside of what I ever thought traditionally as being chemistry. But you have one of the coolest jobs I think we've ever featured here on Echo Live. You make makeup and you make cosmetics. That's super cool, and I think something that lots of people can probably relate to because it's something you have at home. So the best way to connect with you after the program would be visiting your website, right, which is forhercosmetics.com. I know we can follow you on Instagram, but additionally, I know that you are also part of the STEMinista project as well. And so can we look forward to having you featured on some of those programs too?
Of course, as always.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Now, if you are out there watching in the chat, if you have any questions about some of our highlighted activities, if you have questions for Alyssa Space, for Congresswoman Stevens, type them in the chat. We'd love to answer a few before we go. But we do have another amazing opportunity coming up tomorrow as well. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., we are hosting a special episode of Echo Live. Outside of our regular Wednesdays at 2:30 rotation, tomorrow at 7 p.m., Christian Greer, the president and CEO of MiSci, is going to be talking with Paulette, who you've met on Echo Live, about her role as a NASA Solar System ambassador. She has all sorts of awesome updates to share with you directly from NASA, and specifically talking about some of the work that's being done to bring the Perseverance rover to Mars right now as we speak. So it's on its way there. We are going to be talking about the rover, be talking about some NASA updates, and talking to Paulette about what it means to work with NASA to bring the information out to you. So that will be live streamed on the Michigan Science Center's Facebook page tomorrow at 7 p.m. You can join by checking it out on Facebook. And of course, if you're looking for some activities to try at home, if you're feeling inspired by any of the activities that we've done so far today, check out our website listed right there on the bottom /@home-science, where you can find all sorts of things to try at home or in your classroom. All right, I can see lots of people telling us in the chat who their favorite Black scientist or inventor was. Garrett Morgan, traffic light, gas mask, all incredible inventions that we can thank all these amazing Black scientists and inventors for. Now, no questions, no other questions, but definitely keep reaching out to us throughout in the chat. If you're watching this later on, you can still ask questions in the chat and we will get back to you. We want to make sure that we are answering your questions. If you need advice, if you'd like to build something that you see here, just let us know. That about brings us to the end of our program. So thank you again to Congresswoman Stevens and to Alyssa Space for joining us for this very special episode. I know that I have had a really fun time learning about some of these Black scientists and inventors, and I know we can look forward to working with you all again very, very soon. Ooh, question from Miss Worth's class. Otniel asks Alyssa, I think this question's for you, is can their mom learn to make their own makeup, or who can learn to make their own makeup?
Yes, so cosmetic chemistry is for everyone. I actually started my cosmetic lab in my mother's kitchen 3 years ago. So you can actually learn to make these products, and your students can come back home and teach them to mom. So
Awesome. So maybe Otniel, check out Alyssa's website, check out forhercosmetics.com, check out for that opportunity. I know that she'd be so excited to have you join in. That would be so cool. So thank you again, everyone, so much. And again, thank you to our special guests. Thank you to the sponsors of Echo Live, Ford and Denso, who have allowed us to bring you these programs for free every single week since we closed to the public almost a year ago. So it's been super awesome. Thank you all so much. And I know we'll see you, most of you, next week, or even better, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for our very special episode with Christian and Paulette. So have a great day, everyone, and enjoy your Black History Month.